Hi, today we're typing our essay about the most dangerous game. And I told you we were going to be adding some information to make this more of a formal essay. Our graphic organizer was just the rough draft. Now you can see that I've made it really big. That's because when you use the split screen function and you're playing the YouTube video on one side and you have your Google Doc on the other side, I know that it makes the YouTube video really small. So I made my font really big so that you're able to see it and type at the same time, okay, to try and make it easier for you to type it exactly the way I have it. I do not want you to type with this giant font, okay? I have set up your Google Doc with the correct font and the correct size. I've set you up with Times New Roman. Times New Roman is a very formal font. It's the font that you're going to use for the rest of high school when you do essays and when you go to college. Now, for formal essays, you're going to use a font size of 12. I'm using 27 because I want you to be able to see it with the split screen. Okay, keep yours at 12 though. Don't make yours this big. I've already set up your Google Doc to be double spaced. So that's ready to go. Now you can see this essay I have indented. The way you indent on your Chromebook, look down at your Chromebook keyboard, and right above the little magnifying glass is the tab key. You're going to hit the tab key once. That will indent your paragraph. So here is our topic sentence. In Richard Connell's short story, The Most Dangerous Game, he uses three main conflicts to create suspense. And I told you we were going to be adding some information to our sentences. The graphic organizer was just the rough draft. I've added the name of the author, and I've added the title of the story, and then I've put down the topic. The author uses conflicts to create suspense. So go ahead and type that now as your topic sentence. That's the first sentence of your paragraph. Next, we're going to introduce, you can pause the video at any time to help you type. Next, we're going to introduce our first main point. We're going to introduce the first conflict. The first conflict is Rainsford versus General Zaroff. Now, in our graphic organizer, we just put Rainsford versus General Zaroff. We can't leave it like that for our essay. We need to make it sound more formal. So I added the introductory, the transitional words and phrases. I said the first conflict. Then I'm going to add a little bit of more information to explain the conflict. And we didn't have this in our graphic organizer, but you need to expand to add more explanation. Oops, sorry. Okay, so here's the rest of my explanation about the first main point. Zaroff challenges Rainsford to a hunt. If Zaroff finds Rainsford, he will kill him. So that's what I've added to introduce the first conflict. All right, now I'm going to introduce my evidence. The evidence is the quote. And because this is a literary essay, evidence is a quote from the story. And I added a sentence here to set up the context of what's happening for this quote. On the first day of the game, Rainsford is hiding in a tree and Zaroff finds him but doesn't kill him. Then I introduce the quote by saying, who says it? Rainsford realizes, and then I had to go to the next page here, the general was playing with him. Make sure you are using proper punctuation. Notice how I introduced the quote. I said, who says it? Rainsford realizes. Comma, quotation mark, capital T, also a capital G. At the end of the quote, parentheses, page number, parentheses, the end punctuation, which here is an exclamation point, quotation marks. All right, so that is my evidence for the first conflict. Now I'm going to explain the evidence. This is the connection to the thesis. I explain what makes this situation suspenseful. What makes this a situation? The author is trying to make you, the reader, feel tension, feel anxiety, feel suspense. He's trying to make it exciting. What is exciting about this situation? So I'm going to explain it. This adds suspense because Rainsford knows the general can easily find him and kill him. And that's scary. If you're Rainsford, then obviously this is going to be a scary situation for you. All right, next I'm going to introduce our second main idea. And I say that because I say the second main conflict. That's what you should do when you add the third conflict. You should say the third important conflict, or the third main conflict is, for here I have the second main conflict is Zaroff versus society. And then I'm going to add some information to explain this conflict. This is stuff we didn't have in our graphic organizer, but I need to give a little more details about this conflict. Zaroff hunts and murders men despite it being against most people's beliefs. So I explain the conflict. Now I'm going to introduce the quote. And I just put, Rainsford says, "Hunting, good God, Zaroff, what you speak of is murder." So I introduce the quote by just saying who says it. Again, pay attention to your punctuation. After the introductory material, there's a comma, quotation marks, parentheses, page number, parentheses, exclamation point, quotation marks. Then I explain the suspense. What is suspenseful about the situation? Now, you might think for the explanation that this is just obvious, but because this is a literary analysis essay, you have to spell out every detail and explain every detail. So I put this adds suspense because we know that Zaroff is a cold-blooded killer. Now, again, notice how I added a little bit to that sentence. I didn't just copy and paste it directly from the graphic organizer, but I added just a little bit of more details. So your job now is to add the third conflict. And you'll introduce it. You'll say the third conflict is, and then explain the conflict, just like I did for the first and the second conflict. Then you're going to introduce the quote by explaining the situation where the quote happened, saying who says the quote. Make sure you use proper punctuation for the quote. Make sure you include the parentheses and the page number. Then you're going to give the explanation. What is it about this situation that adds suspense? What makes this situation suspenseful? Then you need to make sure you add your conclusion. Once you've done that, you're done. And then you can turn it in.